Non-stop Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com. Purple Daily, presented by Surly Brewing Company.
I was watching you over on the sidelines. Just what were you thinking as you saw the Steelers marching down the field?
We keep asking ourselves why we keep putting ourselves in this position.
Yeah.
We're a better team than these games been telling. So, we got to figure out a way to come out that little funk we in at the end of the game. It's kind of like a little funk we had. It's kind of like that little funk we got, but it's gonna take us leaders to keep pushing these guys.
I wonder what. That was an interesting comment. It's going to take us leaders to keep pushing these guys. Who's these guys? It feels like everyone just hates the coaches. I'm not reporting that. I'm just educated guess. Having, we've been in some locker rooms before. Just that's kind of what you would say if you're just sort of sick of the coaches.
Oh. Yeah, and also these close games now, this is them though, right? I don't think in week what's next, their next game's week 15, correct? I don't think in week 15 you develop the new identity of let's blow a team. I mean, you were up by 29 points last night. So this is just you, and I don't think they're not as good a team as we thought, and that there are a lot of other factors I think that hold this team back.
Yeah, and we're gonna get into some of this stuff here. So they did win last night. The Vikings are 6-7. They're a half game back in the standings of a playoff position because the Vikings, no matter what, always keep it interesting. So this is Purple Daily. We try to keep it interesting too. Daily Vikings Entertainment, Daily Vikings Therapy. Phil Mackey, Judd Zolgad, our executive producer Declan Goff. And if you're watching us on a TCL TV, thanks for supporting the show because TCL is one of the world's best-selling consumer electronics brands, and they've got a new lineup of award-winning TVs delivering the most entertainment with stunning resolution at an affordable cost. Enjoy more of the things you love with TCL. And boys, it is Pie Chart Monday on a Friday here on Purple Daily, and it's a pie chart of praise. So Dex, let's fire this up and let's dive in.
Now on Mackey and Judd.
You wanted better charts that you could see the fine print on.
The pie chart of praise.
You should be singing his praises.
It feels like it's going to pain Judd to do a pie chart of praise off that game. He's been so disgusted by the second half. But this is a pie chart of praise because they won the game. So go ahead, Judd.
I gave this a couple thoughts. My first thought was no one is going to get a slice of pie. And then I thought, well, that's not fair because Cook played well and played hurt. And so I was going to give him the entire pie. But after further thought, the chef will get a large chunk of pie and he'll be last. But I am going to give out 5 slices of pie because the first 4 will be into 5% to each. So just small pieces. 5% goes to Harrison Smith, who actually made the key play at the end of last night's game. He is the guy that helped knock the ball loose on what was actually, from Big Ben, a heck of a throw. The receiver caught the ball initially, and then it got knocked loose. Smith also 5 tackles, a sack. I think for the second time in 3 games, he looked like himself again. Which is to say, my contention is he is still good, but he's not as good as he was consistently a few years back. And I think last night he looked pretty damn good for a lot of that game. 5% to hitman Harrison Smith. 5% to a guy who returned after sitting out a game on Sunday and it does nothing but put up statistics. I understand that linebackers traditionally lead a team in tackles, but Eric Kendricks, 5%, 11 tackles, a sack, 2 tackles for a loss, a quarterback hurry. Eric Kendricks is just damn good. Like he, in a defense where a lot has gone wrong and sideways, he's just a damn good player. So he gets 5%. 5% because he dropped a few balls, he tipped a few balls. 5% though still goes to Justin Jefferson. 7 catches, 79 yards, a touchdown, 15 targets, including 10 in the first half. Was he perfect? Absolutely not. Was he utilized like he probably should be, like a lot of us have demanded? Absolutely. 5% goes to a guy who, even on his worst day, is still pretty damn good. 5%, KJ Osborne. Thielen out, catches 3 passes, 83 yards. catches the key one towards the end, 62-yard touchdown. Again, was he perfect? No. Did he do a good job? Yes. And that pitch and catch from him to Kirk on the 62-yard touchdown was very nice. So 5% to KJ Osborne. And then the rest of it, 80% goes to Dalvin Cook. Dislocated shoulder 11 days ago. I didn't think he should play. 205 yards, 2 touchdowns. Hell of a game. I don't even know if it was smart to play, but the reality is I believe that was the 7th single biggest rushing game in Vikings history. It was the highest rushing total for a guy in 2021, surpassed what I think Jonathan Taylor had, like 185 for the Colts. So 80% to Cook, 5% to Osborne, Jefferson, Kendricks, and Harrison Smith.
It's funny, you and I actually sliced our pie very similarly. Nice, a snappy 243 there for Judd.
It's not much of a. There's not much to say anymore.
It pains you to do that pie chart of praise.
It does. It does. This is more of
okay. What do you have to say to the people over the last 24 hours?
Yeah.
That wonder why does Judd hate the Vikings? Why is he rooting for them to lose? Why is hey, they won the game? What's your problem, bro?
I hate this team. Yeah, I do. I hate this team. But both of you tell me that I did not say the same thing 4 or 5 years back about the Wild. I said the same exact thing. And at the time, you asked me the same questions. And I said, because there's so much more to give here. And now look at this team. I love this team. I can embrace them. They're the best team in the league, and it doesn't feel like a fluke. The Wild's playing great, and they're a team. They're a team. Phil, I hate this team for exactly what you said on Mackey and Judd. I hate this team because it feels like it's the most joyless collection from coach to the players. It's joyless. They are going to the dentist to play football. That's not sports. Do they get along? I don't think so. So like, I think I have good reason to despise this group.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
that's what I said.
We start every show, most shows, by saying the mission statement for Purple Daily is we want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. And I think the disgust, which Judd has more disgust, but like I have a certain level of disgust as well, and Declan does, is because it just doesn't feel at all like the right path. That they're not going down a championship path, despite taking a 29-0 lead in the first half, right? Like that's just kind of smoke and mirrors for where this team is going. So here's my pie chart, because I'll address a couple of these things. 5% to Ben Roethlisberger's creaky old bones. He was great in the second half, or I should say more specifically the fourth quarter. Like that was kind of vintage Big Ben, right? He's just in the pocket, throwing the ball over the middle, making tough throws, leading the team back. But it took him about 2.5 hours of real time to get loosened up enough, which was enough time for the Vikings to build what turned out to be an insurmountable 29-point lead. Ben Roethlisberger is 39 years old. He's played with the same head coach and basically the same offensive scheme for about 15 years. And he's still looking at his wristband for plays. Like, his memory's going, his body is going, and it took him 2.5 hours to get warmed up for that game last night. And the Vikings should thank those old creaky bones, allowing them to get out to a head start. So 5% Ben Roethlisberger. 5% Dalvin Cook. And you might say, why only 5%? Well, maybe he should get more, but I've got a big slice for something else later. That dude dislocated his shoulder 11 days ago. Probably should not have played. Like there was a big risk of re-injury or maybe doing something that knocks you out for the month of December. He had 110 yards before contact last night. So credit also to the blocking, but 110 yards before contact. His shoulder barely got banged at all in that game. Speaking of the offensive line, 5% to everyone along the offensive line except Holdy Udo, or Oli Uh-oh, as Pulford Skoll, loyal listener, says. Mason Cole and Garrett Bradbury had their best games of the season according to Pro Football Focus, and they've looked pretty comfortable as a tandem. They're not perfect, but the Vikings have found a little something maybe the last couple of weeks here. They've been shuffling deck chairs the whole season. So Oli Udo was the worst graded player for the Vikings in that game. Mason Cole and Garrett Bradbury were the best graded players for the Vikings. So 5% to the large, gaping, Grand Canyon-sized holes that Dalvin Cook was able to run through unscathed for 110 yards before contact. So 5%. I got 85% left. Let's just give it all the final chunk of pie, 85%, to the Mike Zimmer and Kirk Cousins gravitational pull toward 500, which works both ways. You've seen it play out the last couple of weeks. It also works within the game. Take a 29-point lead, give it all back, right? Or, start from behind and then make a furious rally in some cases. But last year, they rattle off, a bunch of wins. They run like 6 games out of 7 or whatever, and they're coming all the way back to 500, and then they, come tumbling back down. You lose to the Lions, and everyone kind of writes you off, and now you're 2 games under 500. The gravitational pull kicks back in. You got to beat the Steelers the next week to keep your record close to 500. So they're talented enough to beat anyone in the league, or at least to hang with anyone in the league. The Cardinals, the Packers, they beat. They're also talented enough to take 2 and 3 touchdown leads. They've got weapons on offense, right? But they are flawed enough in terms of whether it's scheme or leadership or just missing a killer instinct, mental chip, to also lose to anyone in the league like you saw against the Lions last week. And I said this on Mackey and Judd. I feel like Zimmer and Cousins, although very inherently different human beings, they both lack the leadership qualities of some of the best coaches and quarterbacks. And I'll bring it up one more time. It really bothered me when the Vikings had a chance. They're trying to ice this game out. It's like, clock's winding down in the fourth quarter, and Kirk gets pressured. He tucks it. He runs on 3rd and 5, and he converts a headfirst diving first down play. And in that moment, it was like, all right, the Steelers have been making a push to try and come back. We're kind of backs against the wall here. Season's kind of on the line. If you lose the game, you're 3 games below 500, and he dives for a first down. Big moment. Crowd is feeling it, right? All 11 players on offense walk back to the huddle like zombies. Cousins doesn't even give you the you like that. You're telling me that an offensive lineman doesn't come over and slap him across the helmet and grab him by the shoulder pads? Justin Jefferson's not coming over. Where's the fire? Where's the leadership? Where's the excitement? It's like a bunch of robots just going through the motions because it doesn't feel like there's great chemistry on this team. And so, the gravitational pull works both ways. It can pull you toward 500 when you don't want to be, or it can bring you up toward 500 when you've lost to the Lions. So 85% Mike Zimmer, Kirk Cousins always finding a way to pull toward 500. 5% each to the offensive line minus Udo, Dalvin Cook, and Big Ben's creaky old bones. All right.
504.
Okay.
A 504 drive there for Philly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Not bad. Not bad. My pie chart, this was difficult to fill out because after the first half, I had a bunch of pie that I was ready to hand out and everything looked great. I just have 3 chunks of pie here. I'll start from the bottom. I'm giving 20% to the first half Vikings. I'm giving 20% to what the Vikings did in the first half, because if you did not go up 29-0, well, you wouldn't have won the game. Everything was working. That first half was brilliant. It was execution. It was targeting Justin Jefferson. It was taking shots. The first half Vikings were the team that I thought was what we've all wanted to see this season. And instead, the second half happens. But without that first half, you don't win this game. So 20% to the first half version of the Minnesota Vikings. 30% to Clint Kubiak. Actually, even in the second half, as the Vikings defense wilted, I didn't have much nitpicks with Clint Kubiak's play calling in the second half. I really didn't. I thought in the first half he had a great target of ratio of getting Justin Jefferson the ball. They still took a shot to KJ Osborne in the second half. I mean, Dalvin Cook was still running up and down the field for 200-plus yards. I had no problem with Clint Kubiak yesterday. Even in that second half with them wiltering, I thought Clint Kubiak was calling a very excellent game. He deserves credit. So 30% to Clint Kubiak. And then just 50% to Dalvin Cook being an absolute monster, dude. I mean, he has one shoulder basically working right now. Still rushes for 200 yards. I tweeted out that it reminds me of when you were playing like Madden on rookie level. Like the holes and the big explosive plays and running for basically 15 to 20 yards every single damn time he touched the ball, dude. He was an absolute animal in that game to run for 200-plus yards on just one shoulder. And I think he had a harness in, right? Like, is that what he had? Or he had some type of thing on?
Yeah.
With cortisone shots and pain tolerance. I mean, there was a play, I think even the 4th or 5th carry, where he gets tackled hard to the ground after a big run. And I was like, oh, he's out. He's definitely going to be out. And he still is able to rebound and rush for 200-plus yards. So this was a very difficult pie chart. because of how they wilted in the second half. But for me, just 3 chunks of pie. 20% to the first half Vikings, 30% for Clint Kubiak, and then 50% to Dalvin Cook. A 2-minute offense for my pie chart of plays there.
Wow, dude.
2-minute offense.
Wow,
Efficient.
Whoa, did you get out? Whoa, that was
Efficient
good, man.
right there.
As I literally am out of my last breath. But yeah.
Oh, it's because you're dying.
You need,
I thought
you could have used an extra 5 seconds, an extra play, but Chase Claypool was busy celebrating your second piece of pie there. Still, you just couldn't quite get back to the line of scrimmage. So, all right, there it is, the pie charts of blame, presented in part by a guy who can still enjoy a slice of pie once in a while and lose weight.
Yep,
it's all about
exactly
moderation,
right.
baby.
And that's because of my friends at Livia Weight Control Centers. Okay, so if you're saying right now, okay, Jed, you've been talking about this for a while now, but I can't lose the weight. It's just impossible. I'm going to tell you right now, 2 months ago, I was in the same boat that you are. And then I went in, I weighed in, I was nearly 240, showed up at Livia yesterday for my weekly weigh-in, 210 pounds, boys.
Ooh.
210 pounds. Thank you.
Dirty 30 pounds gone.
Exactly right. And now you can join me in shedding the pounds. It is the Season to Believe event, and they are giving you a reason to believe Livia's best deal of the year. Join today, save 50% off the program. That's right, 50% off the program, and your first visit is free. Limited time offer. Call 855-GO-LIVEA or visit livia.com. That's livia.com, 855-GO-LIVEA. Seriously, if you want to lose the weight, check them out. Tell them Score North and Judd sent you, and inquire today, because it is a limited time offer, but you can save right now 50% off the program, livia.com.
Mm-hmm. So those are the pie charts there. Give us your pie chart of praise. I think we also had a request on Mackie and Judd for if you're just mad about the way that game played out, you can also give us a pie chart of blame for just the season so far, that they're still under 500 going into December. They haven't been above 500 in like 700 days or something. It's pretty amazing.
Oh, I know.
So Judd,
yeah.
What the 700 days? Or
Yeah,
do you
that's
see breaking news? Oh, okay.
No. I'm saying that's incredible. 700 days for this.
Mm-hmm.
That's
because they weren't above 500 last year.
That's
and
hard
they've
for
been
this team to do.
Yeah.
Like this team's ordinarily, to your point, the gravitational pull ordinarily takes you to, I don't know, 4 and 3.
The pull has been, it's been calibrated incorrectly. It's like, it's like the 500 mark is like, slightly below 500, and that's the gravitational pull. But it is time now for the Judd Zolgad Surly Sermon of the Week. This is your second Surly sermon here. Of the week.
Yes. The Surly postgame preach, the Surly sermon. This is going to be short and sweet, but it is what it is. The Minnesota Vikings, make no mistake, ladies and gentlemen, have revealed themselves to be exactly who we by now expected and thought they were. And that is a team that has the components to be, especially offensively, more so offensively, an excellent team. And that team last night, ladies and gentlemen, took a 23-0 lead at the half. In the third quarter, led 29-0. Kirk Cousins' statistics at that point weren't even that great. But you know what? Dalvin Cook, Justin Jefferson, I'll throw in KJ Osborne. Most of the line playing halfway decent. Your offense, damn good. Oh my gosh. This is what they could be. And you said to yourself, I'm really happy because it's fun to watch, but I'm also curious. Where's this been? Where have these Vikings been? And then you sat down to take in the rest of the second half. 29 rip. And you're thinking, I'm cracking myself, my surly right now, celebrating this one. And the Minnesota Vikings showed you not who they could be. That was 29 rip. They showed you who they are. A group of joyless human beings playing a sport that takes joy to play. A group of players who, when they are prospering, like to give it back. A group that, as a unit, put your spreadsheets down, put your grades down, and just watch them. Doesn't work. It doesn't work. They took their shot too. I'm not dumping on them. It's a reality check sermon. And that's who the Vikings are. The final score in some ways is perfect. Win or lose, don't care. because the Vikings in one night gave you a snapshot of what 2021 has been all about potential, joylessness, and in the end, making a win feel like it was a loss. It's almost over. Thank God.
Wow. I love the way you frame this up. That it's brilliant. The first half is what this team can be. The second half is what this team is. And they won. Mm-hmm. They won the game. Mm-hmm. And that's going to happen. Like, no one said they were going to lose out after the Lions game, and maybe they beat the Bears. They might make the playoffs. Mm-hmm. But and no one expects them to just be up 23-0 at every halftime. But like the first half was a clinic in defensive pressure and forcing 3 and outs. And it's like, okay, no Danielle Hunter, you can still do some damage on defense, and offensively throwing the ball down the field. And they were even like Kirk Cousins was like 11 for 25, and they were still running the ball and throwing the ball down the field. And so why can't they sustain their best more often? And I think it's because they just have crappy leadership in key spots. Mm-hmm. Mike Zimmer is not a great all-encompassing leader. At one point, he was a great schemer, and I think he at least held the ear of the locker room for the first several years. I don't think he's a garbage leader, but I mean, he's certainly not a Mike Tomlin or a John Harbaugh or what Pete Carroll was up until like the last couple of years, and Bill Belichick, in terms of like, hey, this is more than just a defensive game plan guy. This is an all-encompassing leader of 53 men. He's not that. And you can tell the players are not like agents for players, or players are clearly ripping him to the agents, and they're tweeting things, and players are taking sideways shots. And Kirk Cousins, he's I just work here guy. Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean that he's not talented. He's super accurate, and he has huge games. Mm-hmm. And statistically, he's one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL year after year. But he constantly is deflecting and passing the buck. And, well, I just run the plays that are called, and I don't really worry about, timeouts. That's just not my deal. I get in the huddle, and we just kind of take it one play at a time, whatever. Like, he doesn't want ownership of this team. Mike Zimmer should want ownership of the team, but he just wants ownership of the defense, and Clint Kubiak's 34 years old. Where's the leadership? And it's not surprising that you would take a 29-point lead instead of resting starters and maybe even giving some backups a chance to play, whatever, or giving Dalvin Cook's shoulder a chance to rest, that instead you're fighting for your life because you don't know, okay, they scored a touchdown. All right, where's the leadership here? Oh, I don't know. Look over there. Oh, Mike Zimmer's got to fix it. Well, Kirk's got to fix it. It's just a game of hot potato. And they're all talented enough to not go 3-14. And that's the frustrating part. Right. It's like, why would you fire a coach who's 15 games over 500? Well, is the goal to avoid something horrible, or is the goal to win a Super Bowl? And last night was a great example. I love the way you put it.
We talked about the first half of what transpired last night. How many times in training camp? Like, if they unleash this thing, it could be really good. And that's why our expectations were so high. And internally, theirs were too. Like, there's a reason why in that building they thought we're going to be really good. Like, they didn't just miscalibrate terribly. There's intangible effects that go into being good. Do you recall one of the times that Barr came back? It might have been when he was about to sign with the Jets, and then the Vikings brought him back, which now in retrospect I think most of us agree was a mistake. And Harrison Smith did an interview shortly thereafter and was almost in tears about how like tight the group was and how it was a family, and how that's clearly gone. And I'm sorry, but in sports, that's important. That is vitally, like what Harrison Smith was talking about was not some joke of, he's being no, he was serious. That's an important intangible that you feel. And I will say this, in Harrison Smith's, in my opinion, decline. Now, I thought he played really well at times last night, but he is another guy who I think you can get a feel for his game just by watching him and how he's buzzing around. Like when he's playing well, it's like, this guy looks like he's playing sandlot football. It's awesome. I haven't seen that much, because I think if it's joyless, it's joyless. Like, I don't think that you can't be the one guy saying, I'm out here having a great time. It's got to be a collective effort that's led by a central group. And Phil, I think you're right. I think it's just lacking.
And we got a jump start there on nitpicks, but let's go around there. We'll start with Declan because when they lose, we do silver linings. We're very balanced on the show.
Mm-hmm.
When they win, we do nitpicks, but we just got like a 10-minute head start there on the nitpicks, I think. So, all right, Dex, what was your biggest nitpick yesterday?
My nitpick was, even though I loved the targeting, Justin Jefferson's got to come down with a couple more of those balls. He just has to. And I saw a lot of commenters on our Vent Line page saying it's okay for you guys to rip Justin Jefferson because I feel like we always love and praise him. But I do think it's safe to point out that there were a couple throws yesterday that he has to get in and he has to pull down. There was a couple too. Kirk overthrew him, and that's fine. I'll put the blame on Kirk there as well. But there was at least two plays that I can recall. The one that he gets popped on a third down late in the game on a hard hit, but you got to come down with that football. And I just think in general, even though the targeting was appropriate, there's moments that Justin Jefferson, if he is indeed the elite wide receiver, you need your elite player to pull down those footballs. So my nitpick is that Justin Jefferson needed to pull down a couple more balls because he did. Those are plays that the Vikings had to have to seal off the Steelers.
Judley, what's your biggest nitpick?
Oh, my biggest one is going to be a guy that you said his position might be solved about 3 or 4 days back. Greg Joseph. Who are you? Who are you, dude? Like, if you are the king of 50-plus yards, he's money, then you're that guy. But I believe it was a 53-yard field goal attempt that he missed last night. And then I think his next kick was a PAT, which he missed. Who are you? Like, if you are, and I'm not saying that you're never going to miss, but I feel like much like with the rest of this team at times, we get lulled into this false sense of Viking security, right? Like, okay, he's figured it out. And then it sort of goes sideways. And then you're like, has he really, or am I wrong about that? So I'm not saying Greg Joseph can't miss. What I am saying is I'm getting a little bit tired of every time that I like let my guard down. And I'm like, okay, Greg Joseph, it's good. Sort of goes sideways. That's my nitpick.
Yeah, I think I jinxed that one last week. He's been reliable. He's like 6 for 7 or 7 for 8 from beyond 50 going into the game.
It doesn't bother me that he missed the PAT because those get missed. It bothers me that he missed the long field goal attempt, and then it seemed like the PAT was affected. Like, if you miss, you miss. That should never affect your next kick because like that job is tough. I get that, but it's like a closer. Hey, he's blowing 3 consecutive saves. Well, clearly, blown save 1 affected blown save 2 and 3.
Yeah. I'm actually gonna reiterate my biggest nitpick, and this is, God, people are gonna think this sounds so stupid and nitpicky, but when the game starts going sideways, first of all, that's football to some extent. Like, that's football. I think we get more annoyed by it because it just happens all the time with this team, where just like things go sideways. They keep making a lot of the same mistakes. But it really, really, really bothered me that despite the game going sideways, the Vikings showed some fight. They hit that pass to Osborne and then that run by Kirk Cousins on third down. And they all look like they're just clocked in doing a job as opposed to celebrating a joyous moment on a football field where they dreamt of playing for their whole lives. Like, where is the joy in that moment? And it feels, we've both been, and all three of us, we've been around locker rooms and teams. Like, Judd and I have been beat writers. Judd in the NFL, me in the NFL, and Major League Baseball, where you can just tell, boy, I feel like you guys should be happier right now. I feel like you guys should be like celebrating a moment right now. And there's just this weight because they hate their manager or their coach or they don't like their teammates. Like, you can sense when something's a little off in a locker room or a clubhouse. And that's my nitpick. They won the game. They converted a couple big plays to push the Steelers back, to retake a bigger lead. And in those big moments, instead of it being, well, this is a back and forth game, whatever, like this is the NFL, and hey, we just got one over on them. Oh, nice try coming back. It was like this, like the happiest they were was, oh, I guess the cloud of dread has been lifted, right? Like, where is the joy? I don't know, man. It feels off. That's my nitpick.
100%.
And I don't know how you can overcome that. So I think it probably takes a new coach, maybe a new quarterback, maybe some other changes.
Yep.
But they'll probably beat the Bears next week, so get ready for it.
At the very best, it has just simply run its course. And that's part of it too. I think everybody It's like the band that is together for 10 years. By like years 8, 9, and 10, they see through each other. There's no hiding faults. All warts are out there, and it just gets tiresome. And that's when you go off and you're Steve Perry and you go solo.
And the long and winding road. Kirk and Zimmer are just going to start singing that one there, Judd.
Yeah,
I would never
Kirk has a
compare
great
them.
singing voice. Kirk has a great singing voice.
Yes.
Maybe he is the Steve Perry.
Yes, he does. I would never compare him to the Beatles, but yes, the same idea of they're just tired.
Don't compare them to Journey either. One of the greatest American rock bands of our lifetimes. Okay, all right. Don't stop believing.
What
Vikings
yacht rock
fans.
band? What yacht rock band are the Vikings, Phil?
Ambrosia. Yeah, just kind of obscure. You know, like there's some hardcore fans, but and Kirk Cousins is hitting the high notes, the high harmonies. All right. If you missed Vikings Vent Line, definitely check that out yesterday. It was very much a mixed bag. And if you've never partaken in a smooth sail down Ambrosia Lane in the Yacht Rock section of Spotify, check them out too.
Yeah, and don't forget, Sunday, as you're sitting on the couch, I want to see you all tweet me at Jay Zolgad with your Surly Furious, okay?
Show us your
Surly
cans.
Furious IPA.
Show us your cans.
I'll be drinking one on Sunday. You should be too.
Show us your cans. All right, that's a wrap on Pie Chart Monday on a Friday here. Mackie and Judd and Declan. It's Purple Daily Vikings Entertainment.